gotta say, like, cut. So I am Mike Mays, and I am going to start to put together a little YouTube channel that's called, this is our place, and we call it Thepunkrockgarage. And I am going to probably work on a lot of Volkswagens and maybe some other stuff. But the first project that I want to put together and film is it's a 1970 Barry mini T dune buggy. And once we get it built, I'll have to get a new shed for the lawnmower because it's become a lawnmower shed. But I've decided I'm going to leave the body of the buggy just like it is. It's a sunburned, current trend patina car at this point, and I'm going to build a really nice finished chassis for it and a nice interior and make it ignorantly fast and as low as I can make it. It probably won't be legal, and that's what I like. It does have a lot of flavor. It won't be able to be this low because it's actually on the ground, so it might be an inch higher than this. There's a good story about the front of it. My friend Darren actually gave me this car to get me to work on one of his cars, but on the very front it has this sticker that says easy. And I asked Darren, did you ask the guy that you got it from what easy meant? And he said, yeah, it's the name of my first wife. So it's staying. Yeah. So I'll come up with a name for it, but it'll have something to do with easy. I hope you enjoy watching me put it together. And so since this chassis has already been a buggy, I'm kind of confident it will work. But I'm a little bit pickier because I am going to put a big engine into it. So one of the things I have to do is make sure that it is straight. And the best way to make sure that it's straight is to do some cross measuring. So I'll go from the front of this side of the frame head back to a known spot that's the same on both sides. So that one there measures 74 3/4. By the time I get to this side, I'll forget what that's in. And then I'll go from this corner. I actually still remember 74 3/4. And unfortunately, this is 75 1/4. So the chassis is not straight. And I had already measured it. I'm just doing this for you guys. But the truth is, it's shorter on this side. I think by 1/4 of an inch, if I remember from yesterday's measuring. That's 57. I'm just measuring from the front of a known spot on each side, back to a known spot on the back. And this is 57 1/4. So the way that I will fix that, there's a lot to fix, is, can you see here where the floor is rusted out? So that's where they made the original cuts to shorten it. A VW pan is longer than a dune buggy, so the instructions in the dune buggy kit show you how to cut it and make it shorter. And you can see some of the lovely welding that people did in 1970. And so I'm going to fix some of that stuff anyway. I'm a tiny bit picky, but I'm not as picky as some people. But the way I'm going to fix this is I have to repair this chunk of the sheet metal for the floor. So I'm going to cut it all the way across here, all the way up here, all the way over here. And then I'm going to cut this side of the floor because it also needs a hole fix. And I'm going to cut underneath on the bottom of this, and I'm going to leave this side together as a hinge. Then I'm going to open up this gap until this length measurement is the same as this length measurement. And then I'll fill the gap that's left here with weld. And then once that is established as correct and straight, then I'll fill the floor gaps with new sheet metal. And I'll show you how I do all that stuff too. and then it'll be straight. And then it will be as safe as an unsafe car can be, with 200 plus horsepower and no roll cage and maybe not even a seatbelt. Can't wait. All right, so one of my friends needs a part, and that leads me to this whole inner struggle of I have to access my attic of the garage, which is up that ladder that only has 3 rungs that are about 8 foot up, which means I have to get my step ladder over there, which means I have to move the welder, which means I tripped over those buckets of bolts to get there. So I think it's probably a good time to explain to you my lack of organization. I get a lot done, and I know I do because I can see the results of it, but I am not the best organized person. So anybody that wants to give me feedback or complain about my tripping over stuff, that's okay with me. I'm aware of it. But I was just telling Melissa about these buckets. So this bucket is the leftover hardware from my truck redo project. My truck got a new bed, and this is all the Chinese hardware that came with the kit. And there's nothing wrong with Chinese hardware. It's great hardware from China. And then I have this bucket that's left over from a car that I built for a kid that I know. This would be import hardware, more than likely also from overseas. And then this is the real winter bucket. This bucket is filled with everything that's fallen out of place while I've been working on the workbench for the past 3 months. So it's a potpourri or a cornucopia of varied stuff that I may or may not ever use. And that's how I kind of handle my organization. I'm not really proud of it, but somehow I've gotten through 30 years of building cars like this. On to the attic. Get the heater over, start a fire. My friends love me for this stuff. It's actually a little bit embarrassing. Okay, enough of that. This is the procedure. Hey, so just so everybody knows, my dad was a safety manager for a big industrial company. So you're all going to be upset with me various times for my lack of safety. But again, like my organization, the results speak for itself. I am still alive. This is the official ladder setup. Floor. Check out my speakers. Giant speaker to the sketchy old, I would guess 1800s ladder. This is the procedure. Made it, I'm alive. Safety first. Proving that my safety program works. I'm alive. I made it. So this, anybody know? 1968. Actually, it's a 1968 orange crate, and it had this fender on it, and they didn't have them on until 69 or 70, so I'm not sure what's up. But this goes back to my friend Alan, who bought my 68 orange crate off me recently. And this is a fan-cooled 96 plate oil cooler for a high-performance Beetle, or anything else you want to put on. And that's going to my friend Larry. And it dripped oil all over everything. But I'll clean it up later. Wink, wink. So let me talk to you about what I like for a minute, because I guess this shows about what I like, which is an odd thought. But anyway, in cars, everybody's got their taste of the things that they like, and some people like stock cars, some people like cars that are built to a certain style, and I guess I do too, but the style I like are cars that remind me of cartoons or comic cars, but not Batmobiles or Herbie the Love Bugs, but more cars that would be like cars that you would have seen in there was like a comic book called Cartoons when I was a kid. I should probably get one. And the cars always were like caricatures of cars, but still looked like hot rods, not like movie cars, if that makes any sense. So I can give you an example. This car here, I'm a child of the 70s. I was born in the mid-60s, and when I started to drool over cars would have been when I was probably 10, so 1975. So everything that looks like the 70s appeals to me. And this car I built to look like it was built, or could have been built, in the 70s. So every part in the car that's not stock, and I hate stock cars, so everything I own is not stock. Every non-stock part on this car is from the 70s. So this car could have been built like this in the 70s, even though it was built in 2000. And you can see it's got just my stuff. You know, I like things to be sort of wild, and I'm a skater from the 70s and 80s, so kind of lawless looking. And I think that's kind of my thing, cartoony, lawless. And not everybody likes it, and that does not matter. And then let's talk about engines for a minute. So can I show people some engine stuff here? So this little guy here is a stock VW engine out of a 1963 Beetle, I think. And it did the job for 1963 Beetle. But if I had to drive a stock 1963 Beetle, I wouldn't drive a stock 1963 Beetle because they're boring. I like things to have at least what I would consider modern power, like any kind of commuter car that you get in, or more. So my thing is usually or more. And so the buggy for now is going to have a spare engine of mine that I want to keep healthy, and the way to keep an engine healthy is by using it. And it's just been freshened up in the last year, so I want to run it. So I'm going to run it in the Berry Mini T, and it's a little bit of a bad idea because this engine is a former street race engine that makes over 200 horsepower, and it would probably be a better bet in a full-bodied Volkswagen sedan or something, but for now it's going to go into the Berry Mini T. So my friend Tom in Ohio just freshened this up, and this engine used to live in a really well-known street car from the East Coast, and it ran, for the people that know what I'm talking about, it ran in the 11-second range street car in a full-bodied 65 Beetle. So that's the engine that's going to go into that scummy-looking Berry Mini T. And I'll make the chassis and everything look as nice as that engine looks. And then the body will be scummy and the interior will be nice. And again, I own that that's a current trend. But that's what we're going to do, because paint's expensive and that body's already looking just right.